Hey friends, it's Kandyce and Mindy again. Hi guys. Welcome to another episode of Folklore and Skincare Glow Getters. Uh, Today's episode is all about that time we started putting radioactive elements in skincare. Yep.
I'm so excited for this episode.
You heard that right. Cutting edge technology that hit mainstream skincare in a big way. Because dang it, we want to glow. So, get cozy, slather on a mask, snuggle up with a beverage. Time to get into today's episode. Woo! Radioactive skincare. Radium skincare. Yeah, you guys heard that right. Atomic element 88 on the periodic table and one of the most radioactive materials on Earth.
Oh,
So,
and how the heck did we find it in skincare?
right. So this is a pretty dark chapter in cosmetic history, so it definitely warrants an episode here, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the 1920s and the 30s, it's a really exciting time for history, just in general, both science and cosmetics. Advancements in science brought really new and exciting discoveries that we barely understood at the time, but the discovery of radioactivity created a buzz all over Europe. And then it even made its way across the pond to the United States.
Amazing.
So background on radium, okay?
I was so asked,
Right.
Give me a little,
Hit me with some radium knowledge
bring me back.
as we go back in time, right? So 1898, Paris, France. Okay. So Marie and Pierre Curie are in France, Paris, France, 1898, and they discovered polonium after 4 years of literally painful, painstaking research. Okay. So around that time, it was the same time that the X-ray machine was invented. Accidentally created.
Okay.
Yeah.
A whole other podcast.
That's a whole other thing entirely.
Right.
But that's basically, this is how we divulge into finding what radioactive elements there are. So what was his name? Henry Becquerel. I'm not French. This is going to go really bad. So apologies in advance.
Yeah.
My Midwestern accent.
There's pronunciations
all over the place. Yeah. Anytime that we get into anything foreign, I'm going to butcher it. So, but he was in Paris, France at the same time as Pierre and Marie, and they lived and researched in the same area at the exact same time. So, the X-ray machine, like I said, that was a whole nother episode entirely about how that was accidentally created or discovered or however you want to call it. But finding polonium and radium was different. They took over 4 tons of what they called pitch blend, which is just basically like raw uranium ore, just tons of it.
Excellent.
Yeah, it looked like charcoal, like just tons of charcoal is what it looked like. And they then used thousands and thousands of gallons of water and caustic chemicals to distill the uranium down so that there was only a trace amount left of the other elements.
Okay.
So that's how they found radium and polonium. So 4 tons of material, okay? And they distilled that all down through water and a chemical process to find just the smallest amount that would fit in a vial of radium and polonium.
And they started with how much to get that much?
4 tons. It's a lot of material that they're basically like smashing these, like the leftover, the uranium ore.
Oh,
they'd just be smashing it to like break it up into smaller chunks. So then they would put it then in the beakers and heat it up with water and distill it down some more. And then they'd add some chemicals and distill it down some more. And they just keep doing that over and over and over and over again.
Wow.
Until they refined it just down to this little minuscule amount. That when they put it in a little vial, both polonium and radium glow in the dark for hours. After you could expose it to UV light for just a couple hours and it would glow So,
How?
yeah.
I mean, that's enough at the time.
Well, exactly. Like, what is this?
What is this?
Yeah.
How is it potentially killing us?
Right. We had no idea. This wasn't even like, we're not even thinking about that right now because we're just too damn excited.
Well, of course.
We're just too damn excited, right?
And it's still a novelty when something glows in the dark to this day. So,
right. And yeah, we're fascinated with these things. And so, yeah. So the discovery happens in 1898. And by 1903, Pierre and Marie, they get their first Nobel Prize for physics and their research into radioactivity. So discovering polonium and radium, and then they also then confirmed thorium to also be radioactive. We know uranium is radioactive also, right?
Sure.
Okay, so fascinating. Everybody, the public, is just like fascinated by this entire subject and this mysterious force that has these like magical properties, right?
Right.
It glows in the dark. What like I do? Yeah, exactly. Like it glows in the dark. What else can it do? It's magical. It didn't behave like any other element that we'd ever discovered before, creating a whole new category of radioactive elements. Okay. So everybody's super duper excited about this, right? And all of its different potential uses. This led to some questionable applications.
Just stretching its legs.
Defined initially as pure energy, thought to cure ailments, and then, of course, emitted a beautiful glow.
Well, that's all a very big stretch.
But it was beautiful and
right
and new, and it had all of the allure. And also, what more could you want in a beauty product?
I mean, that's top 3.
I know. That's all we're ever asking for.
What you're after.
I just want to glow. Well, glow you well. So, yeah, the fascination led to rare elements becoming like all the rage in the 1920s and the 1930s. The 20s, these entrepreneurs and scientific pioneers were drawn in by this whole new field of radioactivity. So consider this the wild, wild west now of science. Okay. Radioactivity, it's new and it's on the scene.
We're still in the 1920s and 30s.
Right. Okay. And so, like, this is still promising this youthful radiance. And so,
at this point, is it still mostly fascination in Europe? Has this made its way to the U.S. yet?
By the 20s, it had.
Okay.
Yeah. So think about, they got the first Nobel Prize in 1903.
Oh, sure.
And so this has become, from that moment on, is when the craze started in France and kind of spread all over Europe like wildfire.
Right.
And made its way into Great Britain. And then by the 20s and 30s, it was in a lot of, and being talked about in a lot of different European skincare, but had already made its way across the pond.
Okay.
By the 1920s.
Okay.
Everybody's talking about radioactive elements. Everybody's talking about radioactivity. It's going to save us all. Right. That aged like old milk. So this was amazing. It's just, they promised so many things, this youthful radiance. And so it didn't find its way, like, because I was like, okay, so cosmetic powders or something, right? This is the first thing that I'd seen in the radioactive cosmetics were usually like a face powder. And I'm like, okay, well, no, friends. Radium and thorium made it into all sorts of consumer products.
Oh.
So moisturizer.
Okay.
Cosmetic powders.
Okay.
Hair growth products. Toothpaste.
Oh.
Bottled water. Cigarettes. I don't even know where to go with that. Chocolate. Hemorrhoid cream. I know. And butter.
Oh, no.
Leave my butter out of this.
Yeah.
So lots and lots of references to glowing skin, how to get radiant skin. Okay. Some companies really, really leaned into this trend. Okay. promising their formulas would give the user an instant, nearly like miraculous, radiant beauty. Weird. We're using that word quite a lot, even now.
Yeah. The tie between radiance and radium is...
It's direct, actually.
Literally.
Yeah. Nicknamed Liquid Sunshine.
No.
Yeah, radium was launched in a 1933 beauty publication called the Hairdresser and Beauty Trade Magazine, boasting the ingredient is used for toning up and strengthening of skin tissue, eliminated fat, and removal of wrinkles.
So many claims.
Oh,
no.
So I really do feel like the whole term for like radiant skincare, be radiant, have a radiance, this all came from radioactive skincare advertisements of the 20s and 30s.
So interesting.
Obviously, if somebody else knows different, like correct me if I'm wrong, right? Please do. But I couldn't find anything before the discovery and the coining of the term radiation and radioactivity to be before.
Sure, that time frame.
Yeah. The word has never been used in that context previous to radioactive skincare.
And we still use it today. All over the place.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Absolutely. Like, I mean, it's one of the most popular things to use if you're going to talk about your marketing and advertising of your skincare services, treatments, products. It's all about being radiant.
All right, fam, we have a duty. We need to wordsmith radiance a little bit more, come up with some alternate plans. We can't just be willy-nilly tossing it out anymore, I don't think. Now that we know better.
I think we do know better. I think we should be doing it
for a long time.
Okay. So radiance, you want to know the benefits? More benefits. And I'm going to be using air quotes, big old air quotes. Big old, that's around them. Because like, it was so gravely misunderstood. Like, advertisers just so quickly like touted it as this miracle cure-all that like we didn't understand. We still don't understand like completely. But then they would claim that it would stimulate cell renewal for skin tone. I mean, and just using the word cure is inflammatory.
Of course.
Right? We're not supposed to do that. It's not a medical claim, you know. We don't use that word in skincare anymore.
That's right.
Cure, that's not a beauty term. That's a medical term. And we just, yeah. So it's led to the boom in radium-based beauty products, even though there was really no evidence of this. We just thought it was cool. And let's go. Like, full send, right? They didn't have any evidence to make these claims. There wasn't, I mean, I spent a while trying to find anything that like really substantiated claims, like, you know, because there's always been scientific studies that we thought earlier on we had a grasp and understanding of what it was, but then we learned like long term this wasn't a good idea, right? You know, so I thought maybe there was a study or something that somebody was like, yeah, I did this and this happened, and that would lead them to believe that this was true, but I didn't find anything. So if anybody else has any kind of tidbits of info, I'd love to see it. So yeah, I know it's like, it sounds ridiculous now that we know what we're dealing with.
Sure.
At the time.
Right. So are there any, like, okay, so what kind of skincare brands are we talking about during this time?
There's a few, both like there's French companies and British companies and American companies. So that were really all peddling these products.
Okay.
So it was really interesting. So there's a couple of different, I'm going to name drop some companies here for you guys. And there's all sorts of different pictures and stuff online that you can pull up and look up what the containers looked like, old advertisements and marketing and that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of cool things to see online if you're interested in diving deeper into it. So I mean, we didn't know anything about radiation or radioactivity yet at this time. It's still new.
Right.
You know, at that point, they still didn't even know that uranium was actually radioactive. But then we found radium and polonium and thorium, right? So radioactive cosmetic companies. So big one that everybody will be able to find online. It's called Radia, THO-RADIA. Okay.
Okay.
So this is a French brand.
Okay. I was just going to ask where they hail from.
A French brand that included both radium and thorium in its face cream, powder, and toothpaste. They were one of the first ones. They were the like trailblazers when it came to putting radium in their lotions and potions.
So say the name again.
Radia.
Radia. Do we have any connection with the radia and the radium and the
radiance and radiation and yeah, all over their marketing and advertising. And this even gets better. So this company gets more interesting. So this company, beginning around 1932, so this company started as a French pharmaceutical company and producing a lot of products up until 1968.
Oh.
Their first powders and creams actually did contain both radium and thorium, and then were heavily marketed as scientific beauty products. Okay. So not all that far different than what some companies are doing today.
Right.
I mean,
Absolutely. Just
there's new ingredients.
different problems.
What happens with the ingredients, right? We find out about it and it's like buzzing all around.
Mm-hmm.
Skin industry. We hear that it gives the skin a glow, it's hydrating, it's anti-aging, and we fall in love with it before like science has a opportunity to really catch up.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, what I ended up finding out about the guy behind the brand, this made it even more interesting. Okay. So Thoradia was founded by Dr. Alfred Musali and a Dr. Alfred Curie. Zero relation to Pierre Marie Curie. Okay. So around 1932, 1933, Thoradia capitalized on the name of the Curie, using Alfred Curie as the figurehead to make more sales.
Oh, so shady.
From what I had gathered, Marie and Pierre actually found out about this, and they weren't happy about it at all. And they actually had people investigate it further, and investigated even potentially suing the company at this time. But I didn't find anything that said that it actually ever went to court. So interesting.
I mean, I'd have some words if someone just smeared my name as a marketing ploy for more sales.
Right. I'd have something to say about that.
I absolutely would.
And I mean, and we see that with celebrities all the time now with like the products and stuff that are marketed online, and then they slap a celebrity's face on it. And then we come to find out later that the celebrity never did a commercial for them and never really even endorsed that product. So it's essentially what happened to the Curies.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So Thoradia started with 3 products. The moisturizing cream, which was a bestseller. And then they followed with a face powder and then the toothpaste later on.
Okay.
All of them had radium and thorium in them. Apparently, they kept on using these ingredients until sometime in the 50s. Yeah.
Wow.
And they continued to produce products until 1968.
Okay.
So then there was also speculation. Many people believe that Dr. Alfred Curie, that was involved with Thoradia and Dr. Musali, wasn't real. Yeah, there's theory saying that Dr. Musali simply invented him for the purpose of selling and marketing his products. So when I first read that both their names were Alfred, I was like, that's funny. Yeah. So, yeah. apparently, so supposedly Thoradia stopped using radioactive elements in their products.
Okay.
At the time when they stopped doing that in the 50s, that's when Dr. Curie, quote unquote, left the company.
Okay.
Okay. Strategic exit. Great. There's very, very few documents that exist saying that there was even a Dr. Alfred Curie that even lived in France around that time. And there's nothing that specifically tied him to Thoradia. No photos, no signed documents, no patent or trademark that has his name on it.
Yeah.
Just Musali. Aside from the marketing, the actual marketing of the company. So, I mean, that's a little funny, right?
It's hilarious. And I'm trying to think of like what modern examples do we have of that same concept?
I mean, kind of like that, the using the celebrity face.
Right.
When you haven't actually asked them to endorse your product.
Truly. Right.
There was a lot of that going on. And like, I remember that being a big thing in like, I don't know, the early 2000s, maybe like 2010s. There was a lot of stuff like that going on where you found out later that, Savannah from the Today Show found herself promoting a product. And then she found out later, she's like, no, I didn't. I don't even know who you're talking about.
Right.
I suppose that's kind of the modern equivalent, but literally like faking, I mean, how many times did he introduce himself as Dr. Alfred? And they assumed that it was the face, Alfred Curie. Maybe it was the same guy. Maybe just,
Right. Did a little switcheroo on the last name.
Mm-hmm. Little switcheroony. Yeah.
It's kind of like the opposite of Michael Cera doing the CeraVe commercials.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's the absolute, yeah, exactly. You got it. You got it.
Oh, they're so good. Anyway.
But yeah. Yes. So, I mean, that's so great. But yeah, so if you want to, you can actually, like I said, you can go online.
Okay.
You can see the products. There's actually some products in the Museum of Radiation and Radioactivity.
Oh.
In Oak Ridge, Tennessee.
Okay.
That was like weird.
Yeah.
You can only view it online. You can't go there.
Wah wah.
But I know. I was like, hi. And my husband was like, really? I mean, I see your point, but.
So, okay, maybe you're going to get to this, but did Thoradia morph into
another company?
Another company that we know more largely today?
No, they didn't. They stopped production in 1968.
Okay.
So they went a good, I don't know, almost 20 years without using radioactive elements in their products. So, I don't know, applause, I guess.
Ending on a high note.
Ending on a high note. So, yeah. I mean, but there's tons of stuff in this radioactive museum that you can see. Old X-ray tubes and, like, all sorts of, like, things that have some sort of historical, like, radiological significance. Even atomic toys. They're like atomic kids' toys. Yeah.
Okay.
And the Thoradia products they were tested for radioactivity. And there was a surprising amount of people also that lied about what was in their products. I know you're shocked. Not surprised. I know, right? It's shocking. Thoradia actually tested positive for both thorium and radium, though it seems that their later production years, they were using more thorium and less radium.
Okay.
From what I understood, this was a production issue. And then they eventually, like I said, they phased it out completely. But they never once changed their marketing. They never announced that they were no longer using radioactive elements like radium and thorium in their products. They just quietly like dropped it and like moved along with their day.
Okay.
Yeah. But there was a large amount of consumer companies that advertised that they used radium in their products and never actually did. So where they had tested the radioactivity of other products and they never actually used it. So yay that more companies didn't actually use radioactive elements in their products. But also lying about what's in your products isn't nice.
Well, and also it's touting that your product contains vitamin C, and then it's literally the last ingredient in your deck.
And it's not even enough to, it's not a,
To move the needle.
exactly.
And not even a little bit.
Right. You're just doing it for the lulz.
You're just jumping on board the popularity train.
Exactly. You're trying to capitalize on a marketing trend, you know, whatever. But obviously, like, so.
All this time.
Yeah. And then I had deaths associated with radiation exposure, specifically in consumer products. I mean,
yeah.
So there was one guy, Mr. Eben Byers. He was a wealthy socialite, and he died after consuming large quantities of Radithor, which was an energy drink sold in the 20s and 30s. An energy drink. Yes, energy drinks are still killing people. But this one had radium in it, in distilled water.
Oh.
With claims that it could cure up to 150 different diseases and ailments.
And make you radiant from the inside out.
From the inside out. And you would also relieve yourself of arthritis, diabetes, high blood pressure, ED, and more.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't bring ED into this.
I couldn't leave it out either. I was like, y'all, they thought
just sweeping statements.
We were just,
as probably I can see,
had hopes and dreams. So then there was Radier toiletries. Okay.
Radier
toiletries. Okay. This was a cosmetic company in London. Okay. And it looks like they started using radium in their skincare as early as 1917.
Oh.
Yeah. And then they expanded into New York City, like a year or so later, and started to capitalize on the U.S. market. So here's an ad I found for Radier toiletries. I found from a magazine in 1918.
Oh, hit me.
Oh, it's so good. Radio preparations are guaranteed under a $5,000 penalty to be prepared from the finest pharmaceutical ingredients to contain a definite quantity of actual radium and to retain their radioactivity for at least 20 years. Crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, like, we know the risks of radioactive materials now.
Of course.
You know, but even the Curies and their lab partners, they all died of diseases that we know now are more than likely caused by radiation exposure. Marie, Pierre, their lab partners, like everybody that worked on this project, eventually died of things that were more than likely from radiation poisoning. So, I mean, and there was a lot of companies claiming to use radium that were tested later and failed to show any signs of radiation. And I mean, since radium has a half-life of 600 years,
oh man,
there's no chance that it wouldn't show up.
Right.
You know, if you're doing a test for radioactivity, like, it doesn't take much.
Right.
And its half-life is 600 years. It's going to show up. But yeah,
plenty more where that came
from. Yeah. So that means, you know, so these companies that were claiming it, obviously, like, they lied about what they were doing and what they're actually using. Yeah. Shocker. So, yeah.
Oh, man.
So radioactive skincare. That's today's episode, folks.
Just thank Marie and Pierre and fake Alfred Curie.
Right. Yeah. Fake Dr. Alfred Curie, who may or may not have existed. Allegedly.
My money's on no. My money's on that guy's a big phony.
I think the other Dr. Alfred was both Dr. Alfreds for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, so yeah, takeaways. What were your thoughts?
It's an interesting story. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Cautionary tale.
Cautionary tale, you know, and it just like, you know, it makes us, not that we're not already thinking about this kind of thing, but it makes me even more so on the lessons we'll be learning for the rest of our lifetime about things that we include in our skincare and toiletries that are going to have really terrible downstream effects.
Right. Long-term consequences that we just Didn't know. Didn't foresee.
Didn't know.
We just
foresee.
wanted that glow. Just wanted that glow.
We just always want that glow.
So anyway, join us next time as we delve deeper into the world of folklore and beauty history. Until then, guys, stay beautiful and stay safe out there in the world.
Stay glowy. Stay hydrated.
Stay glowing, friends. Bye-bye.
Bye.